Okay, so we're set up and ready here. Gonna do the grinding. And first I'll show you what the plan is. It turns out this chunk of wood I have, it isn't ash, it's yew, which doesn't make much of a difference, but I've got the correct angle cut on this, as you can see, so that that center line goes up against edge. That'll be clamped in place and put on this way. It'll be clamped in place and put on the bench grinder so that I can grind there. So that I can grind the bevels on the sides. And just go that way, and I go this way. That's all well and good. Here's the design I have laid out for the handle, which will sit like that inside between the scales. Got to carve those out, I got to cut them and everything. That's fine. There's a line marked here. That's where the bevel's going to end, and it'll go under the handle. The reason I'm leaving the texture on there is it'll provide extra grip, because this is going to have to be glued together, because I couldn't drill a hole through it. I tried a second time, didn't work. So the combination of the texture, the grip, the compression, the glue, everything else, that'll hold it together. I will drill a hole through the scales and put a bolt through there on the back, which will provide a little more stability. But yeah, this is yew. I thought it was ash. Turns out it's yew, and it turns out originally these were supposed to be bow staves. Anyway, before I get it on the bench grinder, I'm going to take the angle grinder and cut this clipped point. So it's going to be set up more like a sax than a dagger or a Bowie knife. Blade edge is going to be on this side, and it's going to be clipped here. So I'll cut that off. I'll show you when I'm doing that. Before I do that, I have cleaned up all this sawdust so I don't start a fire. So I'll clean up, I'll set everything up, and then I'll show you when I'm cutting it. Alright, so let's start cutting this thing. Yeah, that was quick. Straighter than I need it to be. There we are. Nice clean cut. So that's going to be the point of our knife. This is going to be the blade edge. Okay, next step is the bench grinder. And that's going to take a few minutes to set up, so I'll show you when that's ready. Well, it turns out the roommates have asked me to not set up the bench grinder while they're here, and I'll wait till tomorrow when they're out. Because it does make a lot of noise. I can understand. So, I'll work on the handle scales instead. We'll cut that off, then I'll show you what type of work I'm doing with it. So I cut this piece off. Now, I'm going to have to do a round cut along here and along here. What we're going to do is rough it out with the saw so I get as close as I can, and then the rest will be done with knives and chisels. Same as here, I'll cut into there before the curve with the saw, and there before the curve. So just that little spot at the top there. The other thing I could do is drill holes. Like basically use a drill to get those curves in. On the inside anyway. But yeah, the outside ones I'm going to have to cut them rough and then trim and chisel them around before I split this into two separate scales. So, well, I better get started on that. I'm thinking I might use the drill for that. Yeah, I do have Forstner bits, so I'll find those, dig them out, and drill all that. And of course, drill this hole through. I'll go get the bits, I'll set myself up, and then I'll show you drilling it. I like Forstner bits. Hardly get a chance to use them, but I do like them. Because I'm not cutting big holes that often in a piece of wood. If I plug this in, that makes a difference. Now let's see what happens. Whoa, that's not good. It is in there tighter. There. It moves now, it can fucking stay where it goes. Actually matches that curve pretty well as it needs to. Again, this isn't an exact science. I'm being as artistic as I can with this. Let's cut this one. Not being scientific about any of this, but I'm making it look the way I want it to look. If that ain't perfectly measured, too bad. I've explained before, the reason I'm pulsing the drill like that, and the reason I'm not pushing on it and going through fast, is you're not meant to. Especially with older machines like this, you're meant to use the weight of the tool and a sharp blade. If you've got a sharp bit, it'll go through. Use the weight of the tool, you stabilize it, keep it from shifting side to side. You just let it drop at its own weight, at its own speed. If you push it, you're going to stress the motor. I'm pulsing it, I'm trying to get slow and careful. The old man tricks I learned from the old man, I still use. So there's first two cuts. Next, I'll take a handsaw there and cut these ones down. There and here. And I'll start trimming this out. Chisel will do a large chunk of it, and files and rasps for the rest. And knives, obviously. Same as I'll trim these corners off with the saw, and then rasp it to get the curve. Okay, I'll do that, and then I'll show you once I got all the saw marks done on it. So this is looking more and more like what it's eventually going to be finished as. So you can see I got the rough cuts made. I'm going to take a chisel and chop that out, and then it's going to be rasping, carving with a knife, until such point it's where I need it to be, which is all of these edges at 90 and ready to be split. Sawing down the center to make two handle scales. So after I get that rounded off on all pieces and get that chopped out, I'll show you what it looks like then. Little addendum here about woodworking. A lot of people say, well, you need this tool and this tool and this tool. A lot of times you don't need the tools you think you need. As an example, this handle stock, this board is not cut even top to bottom. It's thicker at this side than it is at this side. So I have to plane it down, as it were. But I don't need a plane to do it. What I need is a long, flat cutting surface. A rasp. I know it's straight, it's long enough, and it's flat. So I can bring it down to that line, making it 7/8 there and 7/8 here all the way along. So you don't necessarily need the tools you think you need from one job to the next. And here's how we do that. I'm more adept. You might notice through this whole process, I'm more adept at the woodworking than I am at the metalworking. But, you know, I can do both. Just do one better than the other. But just like planing, move it forward, see how far down you are. See how far down you are, and keep going. As slow as you need to catch everything. You start getting closer. Maybe use the finer teeth on the other side. This is for really rough work. When something like this, your cutting surface, what you're cutting is going to actually get wider as you go. And it'll be level from corner to corner, all cut when you're finished. As soon as I hit that line, then I know I'm at the right depth. Getting there. It's getting closer. So yeah, that's the last little step of woodworking before I show you what the handle looks like altogether. So I'll finish that, and then I'll show you what it looks like as one piece before I split it side to side to make the two scales. So there we have it. As you can see, it's leveled. It's the same 7/8 top to bottom. And all that was a rasp. It's damn near smooth enough that I don't need to sand it. On the other side, we can see where the cutout's going to be to put the tang of the blade in. You can see where the drill hole is going to be for the bolt. And the general shape that the handle's going to be in. And where did I put that blade blank? There it is. So it's roughly going to look like this. About like that in profile. Not a bad little piece once it's done. But it ain't done yet. I have to split this in half. And yeah, these are going to be rounded, sanded, and everything after the fact. But I got to split this in half this way. They're going to be reversed This is going to be the inside. That's going to be the inside on the opposite side. Tang will be there, inside of it. You'll be able to see that much of it. From the top, you'll be able to see that much of the tang going through the handle. It's going to be glued all around the rest. Yeah. Blade edge will run from here to the tip. It's all going to be filed and cleaned up after the fact. But that's all I can really do right now. I got to wait till tomorrow when the neighbors aren't home, or the roommates aren't home, to be able to do the bench grinder and plunge that bevel. So for right now, that's all I can do. We'll see what happens tomorrow.